finally doing it, guys. I know you've been asking for it for a while. So, Huntsman V2 TKL. We're gonna unbox it. We're going to mod it. We're gonna compare it to my current TKL. I mean, I've heard things thrown around about this that are like, this is the closest to a custom keyboard you can get. We're gonna have to find that out because it's going up against these two, which are, yeah, let's just say, if this can compete against this with even just a little bit of modding, it's gonna be interesting. So let's get into it after the video. After the video? After the intro. Hello and welcome. So you guys have been asking me to take a look at the Razer Huntsman V2, and I specifically picked the 10 keyless or the TKL because for gaming formats, it's kind of the perfect middle ground. You don't have to deal with the number row cluster, and it just overall, it's great. There aren't as many compromises as you would get in a 65%er or 60%, and so overall, just much better, in my personal opinion, when it comes to keyboards and in custom keyboards, of course. Granted, TKLs tend to be a bit more expensive. So yeah, it's nice to see Razer has embraced it. We do have the optical reds, which are the silent switches. Let's get into it. Purposely tried to keep myself as unbiased as possible when it comes to these. I didn't watch too much content around it. Before I actually open this box, I will tell you what we are definitely doing to it. I am going to be opening up this entire keyboard. We're gonna be popping out every switch. I'm going to be lubing the stabilizers and the springs, and maybe even removing the silicone dampeners, I'm not sure. But I am also going to be putting a new colorway on it altogether. And when it's done, I mean, keycaps were about $20, not super expensive this time around. I think they're $20 or $40. Same style, same profile, everything. All right. Right out of the bat, I see things that I like. So here's our Razer manual. This is our board. And it's a light boy, I'll give it that. Inside we got our detachable cable and a wrist rest, and that is it. Hello. So we got a top aluminum plate. The bottom is plastic, and it's actually a very similar structure to a different keyboard that I have that aren't the ones up here. Okay, so I had to dig this out a little bit. I haven't used it in a fair minute, but this is the drop control. And comparing these two side by side, they're almost identical. We do have height adjustment. It's 2-stage height adjustment, pretty good. So, there's your wrist rest. I'm not gonna actually use this. I stopped using wrist rest when I moved into the custom scene because some of the higher keycaps and wrist rest actually cause more pain than not. And then here's our cable. Does the same thing that the other ones do with the slotted piece. And it's USB-C, so we can use any cable we want. Let me take off all these keycaps and get a closer look. All right, so now that these are all off, now what I do see though that I like is it appears that the plate assembly is pretty straightforward, unless they've got a couple screws hidden underneath here, which I can't feel any. It should just be as simple as unscrewing this to get inside, and then hopefully we can take a look at our stabilizer situation. We have our Razer stabs, which are pretty common for the Razer keyboards, where we have this sort of clip stab. I'm not exactly sure how you would describe it. So let me grab my iFixit kit and we'll get it right in there. Granted, Razer was very proud of the case foam that they put in here. So I have a sinking suspicion that they made this one easy to get into on purpose. which, by the way, keyboard companies, if you're going to make something enthusiast like this, do that. Make it so that your keyboards are easy to get into, because enthusiasts can make like any keyboard sound amazing if you just give them the ability to take it apart, because a soldering iron is all they need. But now we're gonna get to the part where the case separates if it just comes undone, which it looks like it's doing. I'm missing a screw. God damn it! I was trying to find out how to take apart this keyboard because something's fighting me, right? And my own video comes up! All right, that's useless. Apparently, I am in the leading forefront of taking apart Razer keyboards. I am both honored and ashamed. There we go. Glue. That was glue holding it together. I got it off. All right, cool. So as you can see here, we got our daughter board. There's a little bit of adhesive right there on that little thing right there. You could have made this actually like easy to get into. Wow, that foam's really thin. So here's the foam that they're using for case foam. All right, so we've seen this before. This is very similar to the other Huntsman, except there was some glue holding it together. This is, of course, the foam padding that they are using, and hopefully they didn't really change the switches too much. It doesn't look like it. All we need to do, take off a switch. Let's find a switch that's pretty much useless. One of these will be, oh yeah, same mechanism. To take these switches out without damaging them, you actually have to get to the back of this part right here. And that is because they're held in with these tiny little clips, which are really hard to see. These little tiny clips on either side of the switch. And so to remove it, you just simply press down on the switch and on the clip at the same time. And then you do it on the other side as well. It's really hard to do and show the camera at the same time. And then the switch will just slide out. Now the reason this works is because this keyboard doesn't require electrical signals between the switches and the PCB. All the PCB has to do is take the signal from the wire, which in this case is light, being interrupted, or actually in this case, being able to beam through it. So the light is constantly at a standstill until a key is pressed, and then once the key is pressed, it shines through the switch and hits the other side, and that actually is how the key press triggers. Okay, so let's just grab one of these bad boys to harvest really quickly. Okay. Oh, no, there we go. To answer your question, yes. It looks like you could, in fact, put a clicky in place if you would like. There we go, tested, myth confirmed. You can do it. So we got a switch here. I've already taken apart a bunch of these so far, but the way that you take apart this switch is actually very simple. There are two pieces right here that are on open edges of the switch. I'm gonna try to zoom in the best I can for this. All you need to do is lift a little bit and they'll come undone, and then they'll just kind of like hang like so. It'll be very hard to see. Now, all you have to do now, a little bit of pressure, they come undone. Super easy, you don't have to put too much force into it. You can avoid breaking things completely this way. Now that we have our stabilizers and our switches actually separated though, we're going to lube the stabilizers separately. We can kind of get lube all over them as opposed to the switches where we're going to only want to lube specific parts. Now some people use spray lube for this kind of thing. I find that when thinning out 205 grade 0, I have a tendency to kind of like overdo it. So you can see there's still some right there. All you need to do is when you're thinning that out, there'll be globs and stuff that just show up on the back of the brush. Just kind of like give it a swirl inside that cup. And what that's gonna do is it's just gonna get a bunch of lube in there and get that all nice and lubey. Because what we're gonna do for this is I'm gonna get this whole thing all set up with these being lubed, and then we'll start putting in stabs. So now all we need to do is we need to thin out a little bit of 205 grade 0. The reason I'm using 205 grade 0 is we're using a linear switch here. This is a nice default. You'll hear this thrown around a lot when it comes to lubing keyboard switches. So we just need a dab of that, just get a glob. And I actually use this section right here. Just kind of like make a circular motion till you get no giant globs of white. Now, to lube one of these switches is a bit tricky. There's a spring right in here, but there's also a sensor. So you don't actually want to lube right in there because that's where the hole is for the light to pass through. So what I personally like to do is I do this top part of the housing in here along the wings. And then in those wings as well. And what that's gonna do is you just go ahead, you press it up and down a little bit, it's gonna get into the slides. And then we're also gonna try to get the slides as well. Just kind of like lubing up in there. Perfect. You don't have to go for more lube the entire time you're doing this. You don't want it too thick. But when you're done, that's nice and smooth. So there you go, just set it aside. Okay, so we are all done getting these switches lubed. They are honestly already feeling impressive. I keep doing it. I keep taking these Razer keyboards and making them better. And this one, oh man. So let's get it inside the case. Hope it still works. And put on our new keycap set. So I have to say, this is gonna be an interesting sounding board. Look at it. Oh man. It's an OEM profiled keycap set. Shine through in the exact same place that the Razer keyboard wants. But the colorway is this beautiful mint and like cream color. Ah, it's so good. It's gonna be the exact opposite of what Razer probably intended for this board, but like, look at it. And we're done. I gotta say, that colorway looks pretty awesome. And the keyboard doesn't sound half bad. Yeah, take a listen. Now, here's the thing though. I've made a lot of linears at this point, some tacticals, some in the same form factor. In fact, here are those kind of back to back to back to kind of listen to it. And let me know what you think. Like, I'm a little on the fence about silent switches. They feel not bad. The top, like where it tops out, is a little weird feeling. Sound-wise, like they're okay. Like the actual sound of this board is just like a muted version of any other linear board that I've ever made. But I mean, yeah, it's different. It's definitely different. I mean, I can clack on it and the mic doesn't seem to even care. It doesn't, it's probably gonna filter it out. Like I've been clacking on this thing this whole time, which is where the silent name comes in. And after we've lubed it, like these switches are very smooth. They really are a different beast. They don't belong with linears. They are silent. So yeah, realistically, Razer should release another linear without the silent dampening pieces, just so that you could have the actual linear experience and, you know, have the V2 switches. Now, this board may grow on me from the time that I recorded this to the point that I upload, and if it does, I'll pin a comment. But right now, I'm kind of meh about it. I liked that the disassembly was okay. I mean, I did not like that there was a glued piece in there, but the fact that it's still 100% hot, like, well, hot swappable, non-solder needed, it made it so that getting in there and lubing was actually easy. It's a little light, which is not something I'd expect out of this board. But that being said, it makes some sense because, well, there's no mechanical parts in there. So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I hope to see you in the next video. Wolfie, out.